All Century 21 real estate offices are independently owned and operated.
Good morning. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker of Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. Welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable on 94.3 FM, The Talker. I'm here with my co-host, Bell Realtor, husband, Pat Devaney.
Good morning, Jackie. How are you today?
Can you believe, for the first time, I don't know, how long have we been doing the show?
10, 12 years.
Okay. A deer ran out in front of my car. On
Really?
The way up
on
here.
the way up here?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, one. So I took it as a sign, a warning sign to slow down.
Slow down.
Because you know me.
I know there was a bear down in the mall a couple of weeks ago. I saw him running across Lackawanna Avenue
Yes,
on my friend's feed.
Imagine being at a stoplight and seeing that. You would think that you were seeing things, hallucinating,
I
right?
think I was in Yellowstone or something.
How are you today?
Very good, very good.
All right, good. We're here every Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m., where we cover many real estate topics. We have a full-time real estate office with many exceptional realtors who've been listing, selling, and appraising real estate for 50-plus years.
Wow. During the week, feel free to email us with any questions you have at questions@jruddy.com. That's questions@jruddy.com. Or you can give us a call at 570-344-6724. And when you go to jruddy.com, click on the webcam tab and take a look at the webcam we have up on a roof. We had a new roof put on, so they have a different angle of the camera, so there's a lot more sky. Send us an email. Tell us what you think at questions@jruddy.com.
View our listings, search the MLS listings, and listen to archive radio shows by going to mobile-friendly jruddy.com, jruddy.com. They should be all up to date at this point.
Yes, they are.
And on that radio tab, there are a lot of podcast apps that we feature our radio show on. So if you missed the show on the weekend, check out the podcast during the week.
And not all the shows are there.
Yeah, there's
95% of the shows are there.
There's a few that were pulled over the years. Look us up on social media. We're pretty much everywhere. LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Pinterest. Yes, Pinterest. Okay. DC is joining our conversation today. At the very last moment, our guests canceled. So here we are. We're going to talk about real estate.
Trends,
statistics, what's going on. And some, a little advice. But you had mentioned we just did a roof, and I want to talk about that roof. We chose, we received 3 or 4 different bids. One company I continually called. They never called back. They never showed up
I'm
for
shocked.
an estimate.
Really?
Right. So maybe they're busy. You have to give people the
okay.
benefit of the doubt. I hope they are, right? So the trades, they're really doing well these days, right? R-Endemic is the company we chose. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple reasons. We got a bid last year, and it was a huge pill to swallow, for the lack of a better way of saying it. I couldn't wrap my head around it.
right? You just put a digital billboard up.
I had just we just installed the new digital billboard, so I couldn't reconcile myself to do the roof last year. And it's one of those shoulda, woulda, couldas, right?
Right.
Because how much did it go up?
15%.
15,000.
15,000?
15,000.
I thought it was 15%.
No, 15,000.
Over 1 year.
Over 1 year.
Should have did it last year.
Bad as it was last year, this year is horrible. But I try to think about what could have happened if I didn't do the
Right.
roof.
They did a beautiful job.
Yeah, and that's what I want to say. They did everything that they said they were going to do. There were no hidden costs. Sometimes you get involved with a contractor and an install, and you get told, well, we didn't anticipate this. And this price just shot up overnight. So you get all these extras added on to the estimate was exactly what I paid.
And they did it on schedule.
They did it on time.
No excuses.
The foreman or supervisor, John Shatton, came and spoke to me.
What a gentleman he is.
Respectfully every day.
Yes.
Very nice. And they did what they said they were going to do. They performed, and they were in and they were out. And sometimes contractors go missing.
Right. And right in the middle of it, there was a thunderstorm. And I was afraid that the building was going to wash away inside, but there was no problems. None.
Yeah. So we're very happy with them. Thank you are endemic for doing what you said you were going to do. And I just really think it's important that we always hear the negative stories about people, right?
Yes.
I just think it's really important that when people do what they said they're going to do, and it's surprising because I usually brace myself that it's going to take weeks.
There's going to be excuses.
There's going to be excuses. It was no nonsense, no excuses. They got it done. And I'm just so thrilled about that. Not so thrilled about the check I had.
No, not so thrilled about the
but
cost.
It is what it is, right? So we just have to deal with this stuff. So what's going on in the real estate world in news? Rental profit margin decreases. Everybody's talking about how the rents have gone through the roof. And
so even with increasing rents, the profit margin has gone down?
Yes. The landlords aren't exactly pocketing extra money, even though the rental amounts across the United States, not just in our area, reached all-time highs. The profit margin decreased in 72% of counties so far in 2022. Most profit decreases are less than 1%, but it's still a decrease, right? Home price growth continues to outpace rental prices. Yields before expenses in 98% of the counties are at least 7%. Philly dropped from 9.2 to 8.1%. Rental prices are rising, but not as quickly as home prices. And wages are far behind.
Right. If I'm a landlord and I have a good tenant, my expenses are going up. My expenses for anything that has to be done around the building, everything, taxes, everything's going up. I'm very reluctant to pass that along to my tenant, especially if I have a good tenant. And what am I going to do if I have a lease? I can't raise it in the middle of the year anyway. So some landlords don't feel that way, but we did.
Right. Well, that's when we rented a long time ago. Our landlord loved us and kept the rent low because she didn't want us to leave.
That's right.
She loved us, and so that was her gift to us. And we were, it was a two-way street. We were good to her. She was good to us. So we believe in that theory. But
should renters who are, month to month, they're outside of a lease, should they maybe go to their landlord and say, hey, I'd like to maybe lock in a rate with you for the next 2 years or so? You think that's a good idea?
Why not?
Yeah.
Sure.
Get a new lease, 2 years. Get that in writing that that all of a sudden they're not going to come. Oh, we're going to triple your rent next month. Good luck.
Well, on one of our businesses, the commercial units, we had a tenant that said to us, if I pay in advance 1 year of rent, can I do it at this rate? And it was a lower rate than what we were charging. Mm-hmm. I didn't go for it.
Right.
Aside from the fact that I personally didn't care for the person.
So when you get
I wanted the amount.
Right. But when you get a lease, you protect yourself. So what if the building is sold? The guy decides to sell the building in 6 months. Mm-hmm. That lease has to be honored by the new owner. So that's transferable.
That does, okay.
Yeah, and your rent is, what you're going to be paying for the next 2 years.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. So I think leases are a good idea.
I want to talk about a disaster of a transaction we just had.
Yeah, sure.
I want to talk about what this buyer assumed, and they were working with a realtor from outside of our company. We had the listing. In the contract, in the agreement of sale, they put a special term in that the leases on a 3-unit would not be renewed. Mm-hmm. So there were leases. And the timing of it was the leases were due to expire at the time of the real estate transfer when the new owner was going to own the building. So the owner reached out to the tenants and said that he was not going to renew the written leases. He fulfilled his obligation. 4 weeks before closing, our agent receives a call from the other agent that said, when are the tenants moving out? That's a completely different term. Mm-hmm. Not renewing leases has nothing to do with vacating the premises.
Right.
But that's not the first time I came across that.
Lots of times you come across You need to have a competent realtor who is experienced, who knows what they're talking about. Lots of people just let things fly in the wind, and everybody just wants to fly by the seat of their pants and move on.
I think it was a buyer assumption that that's what that meant. And then, in the middle of this transaction, I mean, it could have blown sky. It finally closed, but it wasn't without some real serious
pain.
Well, okay, thank you. Yes, it was very painful for
all
involved.
All involved.
But it got to where it needed to go, but it's not the same thing. Not renewing leases does not mean someone has to vacate.
Right.
And you brought up that, right?
Yeah.
A lease, someone that doesn't have a lease,
Right.
and they go to the landlord and say, hey.
Yeah, it might be a good idea. Go get that in writing, whatever you're paying now, or, if you want to lock in a rate for 2 years, the landlord, I don't know, they might want to jack it up just a little bit, but hopefully not. But it's just nice, so you're not going to bed every night going, I wonder if it's going to come and triple my rent tomorrow.
Really? Because what if somebody offers them a bag of money and they want to buy it? They have to honor your lease.
Yeah. So it's a good idea. I've heard, horror stories about people who live in New York City in these tiny little boxes, and my rent went up from $1,500 to $4,000 a month, or
time for a new house.
I can't imagine. That's start thinking about that.
Well, okay, so two different political people, both sides of the spectrum, okay, on social media,
Okay.
just recently posted, Governor Tom Wolf said costs have climbed in just 1 year. Fuel up 106.7%, utilities up 30.2%, food is up 10.1%.
Yeah, food is up a lot more than that. Go ahead.
Apparel
I'm sorry.
up 5%, shelter up 5.5%. I thought those numbers were
really
low. Okay. Then Senate Minority Leader McConnell says, within hours of each other, right? And they weren't doing this. They were on two different.
They weren't coordinating.
No. It was two different. Another devastating inflation report, McConnell says. American workers and families have a new 40-year high.
Inflation rate?
Where is it? 8.6?
Oh, yeah, officially.
Grocery prices are off the charts, worst increase since the 1970s, right? Rent, gas, electricity, all up. Inflation, according to McConnell, has handed the average American a 3.9% real pay cut, right? All right. So you have the governor of Pennsylvania on one side and McConnell on the other side, and they're both saying the same exact thing, like all of these increases, right? So what's going to happen? How does this affect the housing market?
I don't know. How does it affect the housing market?
That's
why you're here, Jackie, to tell us how it affects the housing market.
I'm in my little town, in my little area, Northeast PA, Dunmore, right? So we go all around Lackawanna County, Luzerne, Wayne Pike, various counties, surrounding counties. But what's going to happen here is this. Then the interest rates, they have started to go up. Still low, right?
By historical standards, yes.
Sure, right. But what is the major driving force of the economy? The housing market.
Right.
Okay, how do they slow? It's by design, these interest rates creeping up, right? Because they have to slow down the housing market because it was on fire since the pandemic. Right? So they have to increase the interest rates to try to slow down inflation.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to do it. And it has nothing to do with, Washington printing trillions of dollars and putting that money into the economy.
Yeah, they're trying.
It's got nothing to do with that.
Trying to reel back in some of that cash they were doling out.
Too much money chasing too few goods. They just kept printing it up.
Yeah.
Well, and then so you have someone that walks into our office a couple weeks ago to list a house, and we were talking about, market conditions. You have to have that conversation. And I believe the housing market is in a transition. It's still competitive, but the tide is shifting. The signs are there. And so home values rose by upwards of 20% over the course of 2021. Last year, we saw the highest number of closings in the country since 2007, but home prices are going to start to cool. So, and we have to set buyers' expectations. When we're working with buyers, we have to set sellers' expectations. So when the market's shifting and they're starting to see changes, the reply was, oh, this is all because of the war.
Oh, is it? Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Really? Gas prices hadn't gone up before Putin invaded, Ukraine. They hadn't gone up. There was no inflation before then.
No,
Yeah, it's because of the war. Change whatever TV station you're watching there, young lady.
All right. Well, that's just it. Sometimes the media is reporting is not accurate. So, the housing cool down is definitely by design. The thinking is if the Fed can slow down the housing boom, it can slow down inflation.
But the houses are moving around here fairly quickly. I mean,
yes, yes, there are.
Everything is local, right? Real estate is always local. This market is still doing pretty well,
right? And it's still strong. It's just how long can it last? So everybody, the investors and the people in the know that I've spoken with over the course of the last couple of years is it's got to make a correction at some point. Now, the housing markets that really took off, that really the prices really were inflated, they're going to see more of an adjustment than I think our area will.
Yeah, but we never took off. We're not Phoenix. We're not Florida.
Experts predict home price growth to flatten to 0%. That's what they're predicting. And the significantly overvalued
What's going to
housing,
flatten to 0%?
the home price growth.
Oh, home price growth.
Right.
Okay. All right. So if the home is $100,000 this year, it's $100,000 next year.
Then they're predicting that the overvalued housing markets are going to see a 5 to 10% home price drop. Sellers, then, obviously, they're not going to see multiple offers and a windfall of money and thousands of dollars over
asking price,
and contingencies waived, every contingency, which we have spoken about in the recent past. We don't really think that's a very good idea.
No, really. Explain that, what contingency waives is.
Okay. So there's contingencies in an agreement of sale. And so when the parties agree when the buyer makes an offer, to make their offer the most competitive, one of the ways is obviously price. Mm-hmm. Another way is escrow money, earnest deposit money down. Mm-hmm. And a significant chunk says, I'm not going to walk away, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or Mr. Seller, or Miss Seller, whatever. And also there's inspections. Buyers have the right to elect property inspections, all different kinds, and they've been waiving them.
That's foolish.
Also, there's a mortgage contingency. It's either elected or waived. So if you have to go for a mortgage, it's often wise, even though you're pre-approved, to elect to have a mortgage contingency. But if you're a really strong buyer with, say, maybe 50% down, 30% down, even 20% down, you really have no doubt you're going to get this mortgage, you can waive it. Or if you're going to pay all cash, you can waive the mortgage contingency. So the seller finds that to be very appealing. Mm-hmm. Oh, we don't have to worry about the bank saying no. We don't have to worry about your inspection findings. We don't have to worry about correcting anything or renegotiating price. What are they going to go with?
Of course I'm going to go with that. That's a no-brainer.
Right. So that's why, as the market shifts and we see some adjustments and it corrects.
We'll get back to sanity?
That's what they're saying.
We'll get back to using
normal.
Your brain?
They use the word normal. What is normal?
Oh, I have no idea. I have not a clue.
Right? So as of late May, the Mortgage Brokers Association reported mortgage applications were down 75% year over year.
That's a national number.
That's a national number.
Okay. I wonder what the local numbers are.
Yeah, I don't have local numbers on that. I wouldn't have that.
Right. I would think that's a tougher one to get. But 75% less than a year ago. 75%. Wow.
Yeah. So you know how I know this? And then we'll go to break. You know how I know that the tide is shifting?
How do you know?
There's a mortgage broker in my office every day.
Oh,
cards,
looking for
pamphlets.
business.
Offering, to bring in a lunch and learn, to do some topics to help our realtors understand different type of programs, or, a cocktail hour or this or that. So they're coming around a lot more. They're calling, they're texting. So they're keeping in touch through social media messaging, and every day I'm getting hit up, and we'd like to meet. If I met with all of these people, I don't think I would ever get my work done. As enticing as it is,
that many, huh?
You'd be out eating and drinking every day.
Yeah. Well,
but they weren't around last year.
They weren't.
No,
They
they were
weren't.
few and far between. You couldn't find one last year.
Yeah. So that's yeah. So isn't that something? So. Okay. Well, and we could also blame the pandemic on people staying away from people.
Sure.
But I think it has more to do with mortgage applications decreasing. All right. We're going to head towards a break, but before we go, Pat?
If you're looking to build your dream home, we might have the right spot. It's 3.5 acres of land on a cul-de-sac on Woodland Court in the desirable Summit Wood development in Roaring Brook Township for only $44,000. This is a great location on a level lot. It's got easy access to I-80, I-84, and I-81, and the HOA fees are only $100 a year. So that's a 3.5 acre parcel of land on a cul-de-sac in the Summit Wood Developments for only $44,000, and that's listed by Jessica Ruddy of our office.
Thank you, Pat. I'd like to give a shout out to Lou and Sandy Strazzeri, who faithfully listen to our radio program every week. Lou, you always come in and tell me about what you heard and what you learned about, and thank you for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. We'll be right back. When considering to sell or buy a home, why choose Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate? Let me tell you why. 70% of home buyers settle for the first agent they meet, and many regret it. 90% of home sellers hire an agent, but was it the right choice? Don't have agent remorse. I'm Jackie Ruddy, and I've been in and around the real estate business for most of my life. And at Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, we've been selling real estate for half a century. But we do not do it halfway. You deserve better than average. Average doesn't help you. We know it's all about you and what you need. Century 21 is the #1 in brand awareness, is the most recognized name in real estate, and is the most respected in the industry. In this market, if you dream big, you need to move fast. So it makes perfect sense to contact Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, 570-344-6724, and visit jruddy.com. That's JRUDDY.com. Thanks for rejoining the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with Pat Devaney, my fellow realtor, husband, drone pilot, sign installer.
There we go. I got a lot of jobs. This week, the format's a little different. We're dealing with real issues with real people today. Wouldn't you say that?
Well, everywhere I go, everybody wants to know what's going on with the real estate world, right?
So, look into your crystal ball and tell me what it's going to be like in 6 months.
You know, that's the thing, a crystal ball. Don't we wish we had the crystal ball? Doing this 30 years, and we talk about bad timing.
Well, we're very fortunate, but we've had a few.
Well, I mean, we're laughing about it. But if we were in different conditions.
Yes, we've taken it on the chin a few times.
Yes. So we are very fortunate and blessed, but we did not time our real estate sale of an investment property correctly. If we only knew. Oh. Right? If we only knew.
All right, DC, we sold it 3 years ago for $125.
Okay.
2 years later.
It was a 3-unit.
It was a 3-unit.
In Dunmore.
Right close to the office.
We had it. Yeah, every time we turned around, we were looking for tenants. It just was bleeding us dry.
So 2 years later, they sell it they sell it for $250, and they knocked it down.
Jeez.
We videoed it. We were driving by. We stopped.
All the videos. Yeah.
125. You sold it for 125. Then they sold it for 250. Oh my god.
2 years later, not 10 years, not 20 years. 2 years later.
Good
And now it's gone.
Oh, boy.
If we only knew.
If we only knew.
Jeez.
So-
I wouldn't have put a new roof on
The
it.
real estate gods do not speak to me directly. And sometimes I understand consumers, clients, sellers, buyers, whomever would like to know, would like specific guarantees and how things are going to specifically play out. And there's just no way.
No.
No.
They're
Right?
just holding out, you know.
But we're talking about how the market is going to shift, right? So pending home sales fell for the 6th month in a row, and more sellers dropped their list price. So days on market are longer. Houses are sitting a little longer. There's price adjustments, a.k.a. price reductions. There's not as many competing bids. It explains why Pennsylvania Association of Realtors just reported on a Forbes article that stated buyers are hitting the pause button. There's a lot of buyers out there that, because of the increase in interest rates, they're going to say, not now.
Right, because they're getting less home for the same monthly payment.
34% of buyers responded that they've paused their home search, compared to 22% who said the rising rates have not impacted their choices. And buyers have less money, like you just said, to pay for a home than they did a year ago, right?
So your crystal ball doesn't say that the bottom is going to fall out of the market, that it's just going to level out.
Everything I'm reading says that. Don't panic. But sellers, you may not be getting what other sellers got just, in recent weeks and recent months. It's going to start to get lower, go lower. That's what's going to happen. Buyers are going to still buy. There's still a lot of people. There's still a lot of buyers out there because 27%, if rates reach 6 to 7, they will not purchase. So there's still
a wiggle room, yeah.
14% said they'll stop if it hits 8%. But 85% of those surveyed believe the rates will continue to rise. 72% of the respondents are undeterred.
Undeterred. Three-quarters of the people are undeterred.
And they still plan to buy. 55% said the interest rates don't matter to them. They want a house.
Right.
They'll pay whatever they have to pay. 17% would make sacrifices to afford a higher rate. So they won't go. They won't travel. They'll cut out, entertainment and dining and all that.
Wow. Very interesting.
So for sellers, there's still some positive news. Many homes are still moving quickly off the market. 55% of homes accepted an offer within the first 2 weeks. 40% accepted an offer within the first week. Homes were only on the market for a median of 15 days. 57% of listings sold for over the asking price. So that's still good news for sellers.
Wow, that's great news.
Would you like to review a listing, please?
Yes, I would. We have a duplex. It's a side-by-side, a two-family home at 907-909 Park Street in Scranton for $225,000. This lovely home, it's got a 5-bedroom apartment on one side and a 3-bedroom apartment on the other. These units are in great shape. They have separate utilities. One unit is vacant. The other unit has a long-term tenant. This home is in the desirable Greenridge section of Scranton and within walking distance to Marywood University. This would be perfect for the investor where you could live on one side and have the rent pay the mortgage. That's a lovely two-family home at 907-909 Park Street in Scranton for only $225,000, and that's listed by Gail Lewis of our office.
And there's a story about that one, but I won't talk about it on the radio. There's always a backstory, right? But we love that property.
That's in a great little block over there.
Yes. Beautiful property, great sellers, and it's a good listing to have, and we're happy to have it. We're out of time. Thanks for joining the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. Remember, join us next Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m. on 94.3 FM The Talker.